There are a lot of people responsible for this franchise's many, many successes over the past 4 decades. There's one person, exactly one, who's been there at the very beginning of that success and who's still there now. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Eddie Johnston doesn't need any introduction from me. He doesn't need any validation from me. And in fact, any of that I offer to you, and I'm just going to blurt this right out, comes with a big bunch of bias because I know this man, I treasure this man, and maybe never more so than yesterday when we were doing our live double shot of Steelers show, the video show, at our downtown headquarters, and this had been orchestrated without my knowledge, but a longtime subscriber who's a good friend of EJ's, he goes by Willie Peppers. He and EJ and my wife had conspired to pull a surprise on me in the middle of the show, and these two guys walk in with goalie masks on. And I don't even know what I'm seeing. I can look in my camera, I'm looking back there, and I see two people in goalie masks, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here? And I just kept talking football because my brain wouldn't even process it. And eventually, sure enough, they come up, take the masks off. Anyway, the show gets done, and we sat in our back of the headquarters there at the studio, and we talked hockey. Like, we talked hockey the way that only hockey people can talk it in the third week of July. We were going over great moments in franchise history, great moments in hockey history. EJ was sharing stories that I just blew my mind, that he would just casually say something like, yeah, I coached Gretzky. And he'd be like, yeah, hey, you're sitting right there. You coached Gretzky. He was the, I was about to say goaltender. He was the goalkeeper, as they were called back then, for the Boston Bruins when they won the Stanley Cup. He was the keeper behind Bobby Orr. And when you want to talk about skating comparisons, like we were comparing Connor McDavid's skating to Orr's, and there's not a better authority on the planet than the guy that's sitting across from me. Now, EJ and I talk a lot at the rink and at the games. This is different. This was a beautiful gesture on his part and an opportunity to just sit down away from the press box and away from all the various eyes and ears that are there and talk about hockey. And yeah, of course, we talked about his role in ensuring is probably the better term, the single greatest athlete our city will ever know. About some of what went into that, about the day on that floor, the draft, the old Montreal Forum, when EJ had to announce Mario's name. He actually redid the announcement for us, which was awesome. His French has gotten a little bit better. And he told stories of watching Mario when he was really young and saying that he just knew all along. He knew this was going to be a player who was going to be the best player in the league when he got to the NHL. What nobody could have known is that he'd be the best player who ever lived. He told the stories of all the trade offers that were made in advance of that draft, the most famous one being that Lou Nanne of the Minnesota North Stars offered all 12, they used to have 12 picks, all 12 of his picks for just Pittsburgh's one. EJ didn't budge. The Quebec Nordiques offered all 3 of the famous Stastny brothers, Peter Stastny being in the Hall of Fame, plus their first-round pick. The Canadiens, who are rivals of the Nordiques, said, no, wait. Whatever the Nordiques offer you, we'll offer more. It never got more tangible than that because it didn't matter, because EJ wasn't going to take anything from anybody. That's a piece of this franchise's lore that should be enough to have him borderline deified status in our city as it relates to our hockey base here. But then add to it EJ going and trading for Paul Coffey, trading for Kevin Stevens, building the foundation that would lead to those first 2 Stanley Cup championships and the only 2 cup championships as a player for Mario. But he'd also be a coach, and he'd be an advisor, and he'd be a scout, and he'd be what he is now. He's still at every game, every home game, sitting up in the press box with a pen in hand and a notepad, jotting stuff down at age 89. And I got to tell you, since I spend some intermissions with him over in that part of the press box, he's got a sharper vision for what's happening, meaning good and bad, down on the ice, I'm going to bet, than most of the people that are on either of the 2 benches at ice level. EJ's 89, my friends, and he is going strong. I am so happy to share that he is healthy. He's happy. He'd like to see Kyle Dubas add a big, tough defenseman or 2, as he also made clear in the conversation. But whether or not he ever gets appreciated the way he should in our city, or for that matter, in the hockey world, I'd hope that the people who are most aware of what's gone into all of this, whether it was 40 years ago or at any point that followed, can understand why I have forever referred to EJ as the patriarch of the Pittsburgh Penguins. He is that, and here's hoping for another 89. Thanks so much for stopping down, my friend. We'll see you at the rink this fall. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Doug. He says, DK, I hate bringing this up because I have the utmost respect for Mario Lemieux, but didn't he hire Ron Hextall and Brian Burke? I think I like the idea of Mario being a parachute option in case Kyle Dubas and Fenway Sports Group fail at what they're trying to do, much more than I like the idea of him coming in and changing too much right now. You know, Doug, I hear this a lot. I don't know where it emanates from. I don't know where it gets repeated. But let's clear up one thing first. Mario did not hire Hextall. Mario didn't object to it, but he didn't hire him. He actually had nothing to do with the Hextall process. Whereas Mario was 100%, or really close to it, responsible for the hiring of Burke. So if you want to assign credit or blame or however it is that you feel about one or the other, at least get it right, okay? Nothing to do with Hextall, almost everything to do with Burke. Secondly, I feel like it's important to remind here that Mario and Ron Burkle, they always worked together, were responsible for the pivotal, I feel in hindsight, firing of Dan Bylsma, and not to speak ill of the recently passed, but also Ray Shero, because Shero said, if you fire him, you're going to fire me. And they said, okay, we're firing you as well. If those changes aren't made, and they were made entirely by Mario and Burkle, who met with me in a closed-door room at PPG Paints Arena the day that it happened to explain their decision, why it was being made, what it meant toward the team's future, and how frustrated they were at not being able to continue winning Stanley Cups, then they would not have continued to win Stanley Cups because the move that would follow was Jim Rutherford. Both Mario and Burkle wanted somebody who could come in and operate the franchise in a way that was going to result in immediate contention for championships, the future be damned. Why? Because Sidney Crosby, Yevgeny Malkin, and Chris Letang were here now, and they weren't going to be here forever. So if anybody is going to bring up this decision or that decision that they didn't like, don't forget the ones that you did like. I did a show Monday sharing the information that I've accumulated about Mario's interest in buying back the Penguins. I shared at the time that yes, he's interested. Yes, he has spoken with FSG. And no, there's nothing remotely close regarding a price that it'd be palatable for either side. I have since acquired a little bit more information, and that is that Mario is in fact offering more than what FSG paid in the initial sale, and that stands to reason. But I'm told that FSG wants a lot more, as in a lot more than what they paid at the time. I reported back then that it was $900 million. So you can take the numbers from there wherever you want. But it seems like it's at least a possibility that the parties could find somewhere to meet on this. There's absolutely interest. They just need to figure out the money. And I'm saying that as if it's nothing. It's not. It's a lot of money. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.